And good evening, Abernathy, Texas, and good evening, fans of the Antelopes and the Lady Lopes. Live on location tonight, Ty Horsford, Chance Rocha, Outside the Box, episode number 19. And Chance, we are currently in the third quarter of the Abernathy Lady Lope JV basketball game, and it's going well for the JV Lady Lopes. They've got a 30-3 second half lead over the Lady Lopes from Post, and so it would appear that Abernathy well on their way to a big JV girls win here tonight. And obviously, we're here prior to the tip-off of our varsity games tonight. The Abernathy Lady Lopes and Antelopes going to play host to their rivals from Post this evening. But first, Chance, we are outside the box, episode 19. Glad you're with us, and let's just dive right in. We've got a lot to get to on the program this evening and little time to do it. And spring is in full swing around Abernathy ISD. Lots of your spring sports and spring activities getting ready to kick things off, Chance. You've got powerlifting within the next few days this weekend, actually on the 30th, kicking off as they've got a meet in Dawson. And so they are competing in their first powerlifting meet of the season. And then we're going to talk more about softball later on in our broadcast, but baseball and softball kind of getting some practices under their belt. Their schedules have been released, Chance. Softball first pitch slated for February 15th against Crosbyton, and baseball actually getting underway a lot sooner than that. February 3rd, they've got a scrimmage against Denver City.
Yeah, those spring sports they got here and hurt. It may be a little chilly still, but they've been out there trying to get some work and stuff done. I know, as you mentioned, we talked to Coach Ayler earlier, and she said they're actually going to be out on the field here finally after some of this cold weather we've seen. So I know they're excited. I've seen those baseball guys out there on the field as well. And so, it seems really busy during the fall time, but when you really look at it, there's a lot going on in the spring, and it's going to be a lot more, especially when you have your overlap from basketball, playoff basketball, into baseball, into track, powerlifting, all the things that are happening. So it's going to be a busy time.
And you've got the same athletes, the same students doing a lot of it. And it keeps them busy.
It does, and we kind of talked about that when you talk to administrators or coaches, and they talk very highly about everybody being on the same page, knowing that you're going to have to share kids. So you may have a kid that goes to tennis that needs to be shuttled to a baseball game or from a golf meet or whatever it may be. And so, you have those things kicking off. And then, speaking of tennis, they begin on March 7th in Abilene. And then track and field, they get going at the end of February 27th in Coahoma. So it's all getting here very quick for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And Chance, obviously we're in full-blown basketball mode right now for all age groups, junior high and high school. We'll kind of give you an update here on Outside the Box of where our basketball teams are at. The junior high girls and boys are kind of getting close to wrapping up their seasons, as they were both in action last night, and they're preparing for the bracket portion of their district tournaments, if you will, coming up in Floydada this weekend. And you've got, after last night's results against New Deal, you've got both girls teams who fell short last night, the 7th and 8th grade girls both losing to New Deal. In that 7th grade group, Chance, the only two games they've lost all year are to New Deal. But they will be competing in the consolation bracket of their tournament this weekend. And then you had both the 7th and 8th grade boys getting big wins over New Deal last night, and they'll both be in the championship bracket of their district tournament this weekend in Floydada.
Yeah, so – and I think the girls play this week, and the boys, I think, actually have one more game next week. They're a week behind, but then theirs is the next weekend. But they're both in Floydada, and so one's this weekend and one's going to be the next weekend. And so, our boys groups, that 7th grade group is very, very dominant. I mean, I think they've only had a handful of games that teams have scored in double digits, and their most thrilling game of the season was in the Abernathy tournament. They went into a double overtime knocker with Slayton, and they still came out on top. And so that team has just been very dominant all season long, and the 8th grade group has done very well. And those 7th and 8th grade girls, they battled hard against those New Deal teams. And I'll tell you what, that 7th grade group, that New Deal team that they face is tough. They got two girls that are about 5'10". One of them handles the ball pretty well, and the same thing with that 8th grade group. They have a girl who's about 5'11", and it's pretty hard to defend that when you don't have much size, especially at this age. And so they're able to get a lot of rebounds and feed the ball into them. So they battled it out. and tried to make it a ball game, but they fell short. And it was kind of frustrating, though, Ty. They do the seeding based on this last game, and in most cases, those two teams were the better teams, and so to put them against each other for that playoff,
was kind of ironic as well. Yeah,
that was kind of stinky, but it is what it is. And I think they haven't done this tournament type thing in a while.
Those two could likely play for the championship of the district.
Yeah, if they wanted to, and the fact that made it to where one of them was going to be consolation, which is what it is. It's still junior high, but it's definitely good competition for them, and they're going to be excited to finish their season out strong. And then before you know it, they're going to have track right around the corner as well.
Yep, absolutely. And as far as JV is concerned, Chance, their schedules kind of align with that of the varsity in most cases, and so both JV girls and boys have been battling through district play. Both recently, they both had big wins over Rawls last Friday, and like the varsity teams, they're battling post here tonight. And then as far as the JV girls, they've got 2 games remaining against Tahoka and Floydada over the next week, kind of like the varsity girls. And then the JV boys a week behind them. They've got games with New Home, Floydada, and New Deal remaining on their schedule. And so the JV, and we mentioned, Chance, the JV girls winning big right now behind us or down below us, if you will, 33-10. They've got a current lead on the post JV Lady Lope. So both JV teams looking really, really solid for the Abernathy Antelopes and Lady Lopes. And then just turning the page, Chance, obviously we'll talk about varsity a lot on the broadcast here tonight, but it's almost playoff time for the Abernathy Lady Lopes. They are 9-0 in district play. They are on a crash course to claim the outright district championship. They can mathematically clinch the 1 seed in the district with a win tonight over Post, but in order for them not to be district champions, they'd have to lose their 3 remaining games, and that is not going to happen. Lady Lopes 9-0 in district play, and again, a win tonight and then against Tahoka on Friday would actually clinch the outright district championship for them. They'll be heavy favorites in both of those games. And then recently, back on January 19th, many of you probably saw that, the Lady Lopes were KCBD's Team of the Week.
Yeah, Team of the Week, and very deserving. They just really handled this district play, and not so much the fact that they just has dominated, but just the way that they have done it. Very defensive effort, a team-oriented, lots of girls scoring. And so just an all-around well-coached team and a lot of depth to them. And it's going to be exciting, Ty. We were kind of talking about it earlier today, what it's going to look like with the new look playoffs and how the seeding is going to be with the big school, small school, and what the draw is going to be. And we kind of mentioned you have a team like Post who has struggled this year, who realistically, if they were going to make playoffs, they would, enrollment-wise, they would go Division I, which could help you or hurt you, because you have tough teams that are going to probably be D1 and you have tough teams that are going to be D2. And so that's going to be interesting how that all plays out in this first type of dynamic going into the playoffs with that new format.
Yep, absolutely. And so it'll be interesting. We'll talk a lot over the next few days. The playoff picture will begin to take shape for the before the Abernathy Antelopes and Lady Lopes. We'll be talking more about that. And then on the boys' side, Chance, Abernathy, the boys, right there in the mix as well. They're a week or so behind the girls, and so they've got a little bit left to play. But Abernathy, the Antelopes, 6-1 in district. They're only lost to New Home, and they're in a 3-way tie currently for first place with New Home and Floydada. And so you've got both of those at home over the next couple of weeks, and so really lots of basketball to be played and lots of things to be figured out on the boys' side. But you will control your own destiny if you're the Abernathy Antelopes here on the home court.
Well, you control your own destiny, number one, and I think the other big deal is, one of your final games, you only have one on the road, which is going to be at New Deal, I believe. And so getting those 2 games against Floydada and New Home, being here at home, defending home court, and really, you beat Floydada, and it was a very back-and-forth game, hard-fought game. You kind of let it all out there, and then you kind of went on a lull, over the next couple of games. You end up losing the New Home and just came out purely flat. Yeah,
yep.
Didn't show up, and you kind of found your rhythm again against Rawls. Not the most elite of opponent, but you find your rhythm back, and I think that if you can kind of play good games tonight against Post and then again against Tahoka on Friday, you really want to go into next week clicking on all cylinders and really have your identity and everything figured out, because you're gonna come up against Floydada, and then you're gonna turn right around and have to play Newhome, and that's a game that if you want to keep it out of the guessing scenario, you want to win both, but you got to at least win one of them realistically. But going back to the format again, Ty, like you're going to be in the playoffs, so it all depends on basically are you the one or the two? Are you the one or the 2 seed? Because with the teams that are going to be in, possibly maybe New Deal in that
mix. Yep.
And so you're gonna have New Deal, New Home, Floydada, and us, and so it looks like you're probably gonna go big school with New Deal.
In that scenario, you would.
And then you're gonna go New Home and Floydada would be your small schools, which is okay. But one way or another, you're gonna get into the playoffs, and so it would be nice to have that 1 seed because you're gonna play a 2. But regardless, with them going big school, small school, it's gonna be a tough road.
Yeah, absolutely. You're gonna have very difficult playoff games right out of the gate, pretty much for both the Lady Lopes and Antelopes. Chance, I was thinking about this earlier today, too. You've got both the Antelopes and Lady Lopes cracking the top 10 in the TABC coaches poll, and probably has not happened very often where you've had both teams in the top 10 of the rankings at the same time this late in the year. Probably was the case back in the late 80s and early 90s. You had some dominant girls and boys teams in that stretch, but pretty special season in the making here potentially for both the Lady Lopes and Antelopes.
I would agree with you as well, Ty, and I think the biggest thing that I'm sure Coach Thompson and Coach Mikey Marshall are telling their boys, forget about the rankings, forget about the stats. It all comes down to wins and losses, and there can only be one winner at the end of the season, or I guess 2 in our division if you go big school, small school, but the way you look at it, you got to control your own destiny. You got to continue to just stack the W's and stack the days to get those W's. And so just kind of remaining focused on that and just making sure that they're not getting, too big for their britches, essentially, and knowing that they still have work ahead of them.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we promised it at the beginning of the program, Chance. We were going to talk a little bit of softball here on Outside the Box. And don't worry, we'll get to the baseball preview in the coming week or 2 as well, as both the baseball and softball teams getting ready to take the field. But Coach Amundsen and her softball Lady Lopes getting ready to open the season here February 15th, we mentioned, against Crosbyton. Going to look a little bit different for them. Obviously making the drop down to Class 2A. The competition will look different, but it will stay stout. It will stay competitive. You've got a lot of teams, kind of like in basketball. You've got good competition, even though you have made the drop down to Class 2A. And we had a chance earlier today, actually, right here in this gym, to catch up with Coach A and kind of preview, her upcoming season a little bit. A little more experience, a little more depth maybe than what she had last year. Obviously, last year, results-wise, was not the best of seasons. As you don't win a game, you go over in district play. But in talking to her, you had lack of experience. You had lack of leadership. You had a lot of players that had just never played softball before. And then you're thrown into a district with the likes of Shallow Water and the sorts.
And Idalou.
You just kind of had it stacked against you last year. I think Coach Amundsen expects a little bit of a different look here this upcoming softball season.
For sure. And, not to spoil too much of it, but, you could see the excitement in her. She's getting girls that you're going to get a group that has just played a lot of softball. And it's going to be exciting for her, and I think the program is looking positive moving forward. They've done some work to the softball field. They had some issues with some things, but they've got some of that figured out, and so she was super excited about that as well. And I think that she's just looking at a positive side of it because she did have a couple growing years, and those can be trying for a coach and trying for some of the players because you really have to instill in them when you're losing – remember, it's about growth and how are we growing, and I think that she's going to see some of those fruits of her labor coming into this year with some of those younger kids and some of those kids that were able to develop over last year as well.
Without further ado, here is Coach Beth Amundsen, the head coach of the Lady Lope softball team.
Coach A, thanks for taking some time with us this afternoon. We really appreciate it. I know you're kind of kicking off the season. You've already started some practices, even though it's a little bit cold, but you're kind of getting the ball rolling. Even though basketball's not done, you're able to get out there. So I know you're excited about that. Last year was a season where you were super young, had a little bit less experience. What's the makeup of your team look like heading into this season?
Yeah. We're still going to be pretty young. We've got a senior and 4 juniors, so most of the rest of the team is made up of sophomore, freshmen. We'll be a little more experienced in the game of softball, but as far as high school softball, we're going to still, have some learning to do. We'll make some freshman mistakes and things like that, but overall, I'm anticipating some big growth compared to last season, but it's exciting. We've got lots of girls that are coming out. I'm looking forward to getting to know them in the softball world, and then just on and off the field, coming together as a team and working hard and getting after it.
Yeah, and I know, like you kind of mentioned it, they understand softball. They've played a lot of softball, but getting them all together at one point is probably very important for sure. So,
yep.
Obviously, a little bit of the game and the success that you may have. I don't know if it's going to get a lot easier dropping down to 2A.
No.
The district that we're going to be in and the schedule, kind of talk about that. You're going to have some familiar foes, being from New Deal, you're going to be playing New Deal. Not sure how good they're going to be, but I do know Floydada kind of has a pretty good program. Rawls has a good program, and the coach. Rawls has a good program as well, and the coach over there as well.
Yes. It definitely isn't going to get any easier in 2A. Lots of good softball teams in there, lots of good softball coaches. Rawls, they've always got a strong tradition over there. Coach Cavazos, she does a good job with them. And then we've got New Deal with a new coach. She's pretty experienced in the softball world. So I anticipate them probably being able to make some big improvements through the season. You got Olton and Sudan. I don't know a whole lot about them. I'm learning about them right now. And so I'll look forward to seeing them a few times before we get to them in the district. But it definitely doesn't get better. Playoffs are going to be with this D1, D2 deal. Doesn't do us any favors going down to 2A. But, we're looking forward to competing, and, we're going to give it our best shot. So.
Yeah, for sure. And no matter what the level, I'm sure you want to play the highest level of competition. That's kind of where you set the bar for your team. So doesn't get any easier, but obviously it's going to be fun regardless. So you don't have your full team. They still have some in basketball. So what's it look like so far, being able to start a little bit early and kind of get that jump start on the season, even if you don't have a full squad yet?
Yeah, we're kind of a mixture of JV varsity girls right now, working on key fundamentals, teaching drills. So I don't spend so much time when we get the whole team, like teaching the drill. I can tell them, hey, we're doing this. We get it, set it up, rock and roll or whatever. But just getting pitchers' arms in shape, that's a big deal. Throwing shape, everything, just getting that head start is real key into, being able to flow into it whenever we do get everybody. It's fast and the furious as soon as basketball ends. So it's been good. And allow some other girls to get a little more reps than they would get if we were just all full blown at the same time. And so it's nice to get started.
Yeah, it probably gives you the ability to kind of see some of the girls, like you said, you may not get an opportunity to see because you may think, oh, well, they were here last year, but some kids grow over time. And so just getting a little bit extra eyes on them. So that's good. Kind of turning away from softball for a minute, you have 3 little ones.
Yep.
Running all over the place. Kind of talk about, the rewards of coaching with 3 little ones and some of the challenges that you have and being a mom and a coach at the same time.
Yeah. Being a mom and a coach is a lot about prioritizing time management and making the most out of our practice time and not a lot of waste time, so that, one, I can get our girls out of practice and home because they're at school all day long. Sometimes some kids are here 7 in the morning to 7 at night, 8 o'clock at night. They've got all these things going on. So for me, it's a lot about prioritizing my time and setting a discipline of, we're going to go and we're going to go fast and get it done, and we're going to work hard and get better. We're going to just, I don't know. It's just all about time management. But, with my little ones, I feel like it's important for them to see, like, you can go and work hard and still have a family and be successful. And they see that. I want them to see their mom working hard. I don't want them to think that, things are just given. They have to work hard to get some things. So
for sure. And I'm sure it's fun to have them out there on the field with you.
Oh yeah, they love it. Emma loves it. That's like, she begs to come to practice, and I have to tell my girls, like, hey, you have eyes watching. And I always tell them, like, don't put my kid in a position where they have to tell on you. You be a good example, and I feel like that kind of straightens it out a little bit. I don't have to worry about some things that maybe other people might have to worry about, because there are little eyes watching, and they don't want to be the person that teaches them this or that and stuff like that. So it's important to me for her to see that these kids are working hard, but also for her to see me telling them how, like, this, you have to work hard and you have to be like this so that you can go be successful.
Right. Correct. So. Well, and two, it sets that expectation of those older girls to know, like, maybe not even just at practice, but the kids in a town like Abernathy, the community we have, there's kids looking up to you at every single level. Yep. So having it right there, very present, just letting them know, like, hey, these kids want to be you someday. Yeah. So show them a good example of what, like you said, a hardworking and just someone that's going to represent the community well. Yep. So, and going back to that, Abernathy is a community. You've been a teacher and a coach here for a while now. What are some of your things that you really enjoy about the community, how they've embraced you, and just kind of being a part of this coaching staff in this school?
Yeah. 12 years ago, I came and I was like, man, this is weird. I'm on the Abernathy side and things like that. But it quickly became home. I've got lots of people around me. Community is great. And, when they say it takes a village to raise your family, it truly does. And just the support that I've gotten over the years, it means a lot to me. People work hard around everyone and support each other. And it's a good place to be, to work. I don't know. This is where I want to be. So
that's exciting, Beth. I appreciate you taking time, Coach A.
Thank you.
Good luck on your upcoming season, and
appreciate it.
Just make sure you beat New Deal and Rawls, and we'll be good to go.
Yes, we'll try.
And there you have it. A special thank you to Coach Beth Amundson for joining us here on Outside the Box. Actually, earlier today, kind of got a little bit of a softball preview. Hope you're going to be excited to go out and watch some Lady Lope softball. Hoping for a step up from last year. I think you're going to see that on and off the field for that group. And I just love, too, Chance, and I thought it was important to ask her personally. Yeah. Obviously, she's one. We know her. She's got 3 little ones. She's got a daughter in our kids' grade. And just how you balance being a mom and a coach and a teacher. It's a lot, but she also talked about the importance of teaching her kids a strong work ethic, and you can be successful in a career as a coach as well as a mom, and it just kind of how it all flows together.
Yeah, she just talked about putting in the work when you're there, especially with the girls, and saying we want to work hard, we want to do it fast and quick, we want to know this is how much time we have, we want to give all the effort we have, and because she understands too, and I think that it was good for her to mention that not only as a parent and as a mom, but she understands that these kids, they're here long days too, and to kind of instill in them
12,
like, hey,
13, 14 hours a day.
And to tell them, hey, when we start practice at 4 and I say we're done at 5:30, that means we need to be working from 4 to 5:30. You know what I mean? Like actually working. That way we're not dragging it out where I have to redo and go do things and stuff like that. And then also just her, letting her daughter be present at those practices and really instilling in those girls saying, hey, she's looking up to you. She's looking at you to make sure that you're doing the right thing. So just knowing that those little eyes are on them, not only at practice, but at games here, at basketball games and wherever you may be, those little Lopes are looking up to those older Lady Lopes and Antelopes. And I think that's important, especially in a community like Abernathy for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So excited about some Abernathy Lady Lope softball again. Thanks to Coach A for joining us earlier today. And chances we kind of wrap up things here on Outside the Box and get ready to kind of reset things and get Abernathy Lady Lope and Antelope basketball on the air. Just a few things of note. Our campus has participated kind of in an area-wide, Panhandle, West Texas-wide, Wear Pink event this past week to remember a young, and I'm sure you saw this in the news, a young, I believe, second-grade student in Borger, Texas, up in the Panhandle, who tragically lost her life a week or so ago, just in a tragic accident in a school drop-off line, that could happen anywhere. So lots of schools rallying to support that town, that community, that family, and that's one thing you love about West Texas. You're there for each other. You've got each other backs, but obviously our thoughts and prayers are with that family.
Thoughts and prayers are with them, and we mentioned it off the air, Ty, like such a tragic thing to happen, but the fact that that's not things like that can happen here in Abernathy, and New Deal, Tahoka, wherever it may be, and just the fact that the community of West Texas and the Texas in general is just rallying around that family, just lifting them up with thoughts and prayers and just showing them like, hey, we're thinking about you, we're supporting you, and it's just a tough thing when any young child, anything happens to them, much less one of them passing tragically like that. And so just that we could participate and, me personally talking to my kiddos about it, like, hey, this is why we're doing it, and them having questions, just being able to share with them too, like the importance of sticking together and showing that we care about other people outside of just ourselves and our own community too. So, and I think that's just it's a good teaching moment as well for your kiddos.
Yeah, absolutely. On a much brighter note, if you haven't signed your kiddos up for Little League baseball and softball, get it done because Friday is the deadline to get your kiddos signed up. If you've got any questions about that, you could reach out to me or Chance, or we're on the board for that. But you could also message the Facebook page or anybody that you know that's involved. Ask them. You'll get an answer. But get your kiddos signed up for Little League baseball and softball. Junior basketball, Chance, is in full swing this past Saturday. A pretty successful day for all of our boys and girls junior basketball teams. They hosted teams from New Deal. And then we're going to return the favor this coming Saturday as our junior basketball teams head to New Deal to compete in the Junior Basketball League. So that's coming up on Saturday. Lots of students, Chance, and I know you had a kiddo as well do this, but lots of Abernathy students participating in the all-region band concert this past Saturday as well in Lubbock.
They did. It was middle school and high school. You had your concert band, your symphonic band, your jazz band, and then your honors band. And so there was a couple kiddos that made it in all the different ones, and it was awesome to see students represented in all the different bands. And my daughter asked me, she was like, why is there different ones? And we were kind of talking about it, and it wasn't so much that kids think, oh, I didn't make that one, I didn't make this one, and like, to make any of them is very important, number one. And then, yes, the level of difficulty, it's just the music that is presented and things like that. But at the honors band, I guess, would be considered the highest level, and we were represented very well in that one as well. And so it's just good to see Mr. Knight. We talked about him earlier on Outside the Box, and just they do great during football season. They do great in marching, but they also do great in the concert season as well. And very well represented, and it was just a good time and to go out there to the Civic Center and see all those kiddos and band represent Abernathy very well for sure.
Our next Outside the Box will come your way 1 week from tonight. Again, live on location from the Abernathy Antelope High School gym, as Abernathy will be preparing for their senior night of celebration that night, as the Lady Lopes and Antelopes will host Floydada. It'll be the season finale for the girls. And we'll kind of start talking postseason. We'll have a clearer picture what that'll look like for sure the Lady Lopes. And then we're going to try and nail down an interview and get a preview of a baseball season as well with Coach Carrasco prior to them starting their season here in a week or so, which is crazy to think about.
Yep, it is crazy to think about, but I love it. It's my favorite time of the year. Seeing those kiddos out there on the diamond, whether it's softball or baseball, and it's going to be exciting. I think those squads are both going to be pretty good, and hopefully have some success just like we saw in football and like we're seeing in basketball. Hopefully it carries over to the diamond as well, Ty.
Absolutely. So stick with us. We'll be here all night long. We're going to break for now and start a new stream. It'll be Abernathy basketball on the air tonight against Post after the JV girls just had a big win over the Post Lady Lopes. We'll be on time, about a 6:15 broadcast time for Post and Abernathy here in about 15 minutes. But for now, as always, good night.
God bless.
And go Lopes.